and I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
President, do you think there was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried for President safety?
That was President Biden addressing the nation after former President Trump was presumptively shot at a rally in Pennsylvania. Shots rang out at this rally. We are told the potential shooter is dead. Someone in the crowd is also dead. But what really stood out to me from this address was the president called former President Trump Donald. I'm trying to get a hold of Donald. I hope he's okay. All of the kind of political vernacular has kind of faded away, and now he's talking human to human. He said Donald is with doctors. I'm trying to get a hold of him. He, of course, condemned what happened, condemned political violence. He said, quote, "It's sick."
He also said he's trying to learn more information. We do know that some kind of firearm was discharged, and we're trying to learn about how what exactly happened. We have heard from Donald Trump Jr. as well, just in the last few minutes, sent by an aide. Don Jr. was not there, Donald Trump Jr. not there, but he said, quote, "I just spoke to my father on the phone, and he is in great spirits. He will never stop fighting to save America, no matter what the radical left throws at him." Okay, we don't know about the intention of the shooter or motivation in any way at this time. That's a quote from Donald Trump Jr., the former president's son. President Biden, in his brief remarks from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, a place where he likes to enjoy some peace and quiet on the weekend, not this weekend, having to speak out about violence at a political rally. He called it sick. Sick.
We have Major Garrett also on the line. Major, what do you take away from the president's remarks, and what are you hearing from your sources?
Well, first of all, everyone, I just got to Milwaukee. I got here about 5 minutes ago, right off the airplane, and I'm shocked to hear the news out of Butler, Pennsylvania. The president's remarks are all the nation knows, and he's at the top of the pyramid of all the available information. I can tell you this from Milwaukee. I just got off the phone with Reince Priebus, former Republican National Committee chairman, former White House chief of staff to Donald Trump, and now currently the chairman of the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee. He said three things. One, he's been on the phone with those close to former President Trump. The former President Trump is well, does not expect to change anything about the program here in Milwaukee. Will come in here, if anything, more energized, more raring to go. That is a word from Reince Priebus about everything that is planned for the 4 days to commence tomorrow here in Milwaukee. I asked Reince Priebus, do you expect the security situation here in Milwaukee to change as a result of the events in Butler, Pennsylvania? He said, not yet. He said, but I will probably get a briefing in the not too distant future. There are a lot of other priorities ahead of that right now, but he's expecting that something might change. I can tell you this, having just gotten here to downtown Milwaukee already, the standard lengthy multi-block security perimeter is being erected as I speak. Blocks are being blocked off all around. That standard protocol for Republican or Democratic national conventions has been for many, many years. What we don't know is, starting tomorrow, will the plans that they had going into this event in any way be tightened as a result of the violence and the very near miss on former President Trump. Reince Priebus did not have any insights into that, but what he does know and what he was able to convey to me is former president is well, expects to be here all 4 days in Milwaukee, and wants the program to go as planned. That's what I know.
We now have a doctor who was on the scene and treating people, Dr. Jim Sweetland. Dr. Sweetland, what did you see and who did you treat? What were the extent of the injuries?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me on. I was in the stands about 30 feet away from an individual that received a head wound, a headshot. He was on the lower portion of the same stands. I was looking at the graph. What I heard would sound like firecrackers going off. I saw the Secret Service then swarm over Donald Trump, and somebody near the location of this individual cried out, he's down, he's hurt, he's been shot. And so, being an emergency department physician, I just went into muscle memory and went down there to assist him.
And how did you assist him, doctor? And what did he look like? What were the extent of his wounds? It sounds like this was a male. What can you describe for us?
It's a male. He appeared to be mid-30s. I believe he was Hispanic. He was wearing a Trump rally shirt. He was shot in the head. His body was twisted around and wedged between two benches that were in the stand. He was not breathing. He did not have a pulse or at all. And he appeared fairly gravely ill. With the help of three other people, I was able to get him back up on the bench, and I administered CPR. I breathed for him, standard CPR, and also did chest compressions. There was a lot of blood that was spilled on the stands where he lay, as well as brain matter.
Doctor, did he appear to have any family with him, or did he seem like he was alone?
He seemed like there was two family members. I continued to try to resuscitate him. Two Pennsylvania State police officers approached and tapped me and said, "We got him." They're big guys. They lifted him off the bench like a rag doll. They thought I was family. I said, "No, I'm an emergency department physician, just trying to help." And they gathered up two family members and they left.
Doctor, this is Margaret Brennan in Washington. I am sorry for all that you have gone through. Thank you for sharing your account. I wonder if you can share with us any detail of what you witnessed in terms of whether you saw what the injury was caused by. Was there impact from the bullet, or, as we're seeing rumors of, was there shrapnel, was there glass that sprayed that also caused injuries in the area?
Yeah, no, this was a bullet wound that was in the right temporal area above the right ear. The bone was elevated, and there was profuse blood and excuse me for saying this, brain matter coming there. So it really was a bullet wound, an entry wound. Looking at him, I did not examine him beyond performing CPR. I did not see an exit wound.
Did you, doctor, have any visibility into others in the area who might have had injuries? And could you tell from the distance you were at what the former president was injured by? We can see in images that there was blood, but we don't know if, for example, he had a close call, if this was shrapnel, if this was glass, or do you have any way of knowing?
I have no way of knowing the injuries to the president. I was focused entirely on that poor individual that was shot. And I once you're in that mode, you really don't pay attention to the surroundings. I did look briefly for any guns or weapons in the area where he was or around where other members of his family were. I didn't see any weapons, no guns, no knives, nothing.
Could you tell the distance at which the shot was taken? Did you see the origin of the shot?
I couldn't tell. Again, I'm not a telemetry expert, but the way the wound entered, it was, I think, from big trees or from a distance, it seemed. And sometimes it looked like an assassination. They'll shoot the individual in front of them so they then can shoot their true target. I just thought of that as I was dealing with this individual.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, since you are a medical professional, the fact that the former president was able to stand up, we heard him say, get my shoe. He had a trickle of blood, but he had his arms around others. That would, as we are hearing from these statements from his campaign, suggest that he is fine. What was it that you think took him off his feet?
I don't know, because I did not witness that. when I turned around, the Secret Service were already piled on him, and my attention was entirely on this individual, so I could not really assess the president how he was walking off the stage. The first thing I said when I got up and I turned to my friend and said, "Did Trump walk off the stage?" And he said, "Yes." And so to me that indicated that the wound was not severe, at least at that moment.
Doctor, you were there as an attendee. Tell us about the level of security required to enter these fairgrounds.
It was quite tight. I mean, it was a good hour to get in. There were an hour to get in the line to go through the metal detectors. I happen to have artificial knees that always lights up metal detectors, and they had to wand me after I got in, and they confirmed that I had that. It was quite tight. I felt pretty secure there.
Okay.
Also, where my vantage point in the stands, I could observe, I could observe what I consider to be SWAT snipers with silencers and guns.
I think we just lost him.
The reason, Adriana, that description of the distance is so important is it gets to the security protocols. Clearly, the security perimeter was not broad and wide enough. If, as we were just hearing from our eyewitness, it took over an hour to get through those metal detectors and screening, and someone was able at a distance to take a fairly clear shot that close to a Secret Service detailee.
I just got a text from the former president's son, Donald Trump Jr. He's been on the phone with his father. He was not at the event. He says, as we've been reporting, his father is doing fine. He's doing fine. That's from Donald Trump Jr., the son of former President Donald Trump.
I understand our political reporter, Ed O'Keefe, is standing by. I believe he's in Milwaukee. Ed, are you there? Can you hear me?
That's right, Margaret, I can. Can you hear me?
I can, and we already knew that Milwaukee was in a heightened level of preparedness security-wise because this is a large gathering. All large gatherings these days are highly scrutinized, but for the RNC, there's high security. Do you have any sense on the ground if protocols are changing, or if any of the Secret Service you're seeing there has any indication of what went wrong?
We are, during the day, in the hours before this, we observed local police and other police agencies that get sent here to assist Milwaukee local police in dealing with things like traffic control, crowd control. They were out and about sort of reviewing the lay of the land, getting a sense of it. In the hours since then, we haven't seen a few blocks from the convention site any real change in police posture. But we know that around the time the former president's campaign rally was beginning, coincidentally, the so-called security sweep, or the thorough review of everything inside the convention perimeter, was beginning, led by the Secret Service. It was supposed to continue into the overnight hours. We'll see now if it is potentially extended a few hours or not. And we'll also see, as Major was reporting earlier, whether there's any change to events that are scheduled to begin tomorrow. I know of one, for example, convention attendees from the 50 states and the territories are invited to a large outdoor music and festival area on the shores of the lake here for a big event tomorrow night. We'll have to see if that is changed in any way, given that it is an outdoor event, like the campaign event in Pennsylvania. But otherwise, hotels here are beginning to fill up. Preparations are underway. One other piece of politics that's worth conveying, Margaret, while we're waiting to see what exactly Republicans decide to do with their convention, the Biden campaign let it be known moments before the president spoke that the Biden campaign itself is moving tonight to stop all television and digital advertising across the country to acknowledge this moment, and is working to ensure that all outbound communication to voters, in essence, that's fundraising appeals and advertising, is stopped to mark this event. That is a notable pause, given that upwards of $50 million were supposed to be spent this month on that kind of advertising and other outreach.
Well, Ed, what you're saying, just to put it in context, this is already affecting the operations of a campaign 4 months out from election day,
Right.
but it is also a choice, a deliberate choice being made by the Biden campaign to say this is not the moment for politics. It was very quickly that they got the president on air. Tell me what you thought about the language chosen by the president and the thinking in the White House and trying to tamp down any kind of perhaps retaliation.
When the current president speaks about his predecessor and bitter political rival, I had never heard him before refer to him in that way as Donald. To Adriana's earlier observation, I would surmise, based on years of tracking him, that that's exactly what he was trying to do, sort of tamp down the politics of this and try to emphasize the humanity. Donald, after all, is a man, is a human being, is a father, is a grandfather, is someone who's followed and adored by millions of Americans and people around the world. So the fact that he very clearly said from the beginning, I'm trying to talk to is notable, and we'll see whether or not that happens. And the president didn't rule out speaking again tonight to try to help quell concerns across the country. That response, different to the one that Trump made in the moments after this, though, perhaps understandable. And we'll just have to monitor here in the coming hours how these two leaders, and perhaps former presidents, Margaret, consider speaking out or doing something to try to quell the obvious rancor and violence that we've seen today and could potentially see over the next 3.5 months as the campaign continues.
Yeah, and Adriana, apologies if you've already reported that, but our Pat Milton is saying we now know the weapon used was a rifle, that the shooter used that. And in that video we were showing earlier of the downed individual appeared to be wearing fatigues. You couldn't see the weapon. And we don't know that that's the shooter, but we believe that that video does reflect that was the eliminated threat Secret Service took down.
That's new information.
And confirmation from Pat Milton as well from 2 law enforcement sources to her. The shooter was outside of that Gordon area, as we've been discussing. It was a couple hundred yards away from elevated structure, shot and killed by a member of the Secret Service counter-assault team. As Margaret said, the shooter's weapon was a rifle. New information from Pat Milton.
In other words, a skilled shooter to be able to take a shot like that at a distance with a rifle.
And to Ed's point, the current president is talking about unity, trying to cut through the politics and talk about the humanity of the situation. The vice president has also issued a statement. She says that she's been briefed. She says, Doug and I are relieved that he is not seriously injured. We are praying for him, his family, and all those who have been injured and impacted by this senseless shooting. She continues and says that we are grateful to the United States Secret Service, first responders, local authorities for their immediate action. Violence such as this has no place in our nation. We must condemn this abhorrent act and do our part to ensure that it does not lead to more violence.
And new reporting from Nicole Skanga, a CBS News reporter, that it's still being determined if former President Trump was hit by a bullet or from debris. Some evidence he might have been cut by the glass. He's surrounded by teleprompters, which are plastic or glass, depending on the event on stage. Different elements are on stage as well. Again, from Nicole Skanga at CBS News, the suspect was on a shed. Again, that elevated platform outside the security perimeter. Usually, multiple sources tell CBS News the president or Republican nominee would have some sort of protective glass in the area, but it's unclear at this event what the extent was of the security around former President Trump.
And this on a day when, the campaigns are in full swing. Just today, I just read that statement from the vice president. She had a campaign event in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, that was indoors. These events have different levels of security based on the risk. There, of course, is more risk when you are outside. There is less ability to control all the elements. We don't know exactly what happened, but we do know that an alleged assailant has been neutralized. We believe him, if it is a man, to have been up on a roof.
CBS reporting at this point is that it is a male, and we're having communication issues ourselves on this end, and this is a breaking news environment, so stay with us in this fluidity. But I want to make sure that our control room in New York tells me that we have someone on the phone right now who was an eyewitness to events. I'd like to be able to speak to him. I'm told his name is Josh Dresling. Josh, are you there, and can you hear all of us?
Yes, I'm here, and I can hear you.
Wonderful. Josh, can you give us a little context? Why were you at the rally today?
I was just an observer there to take some pictures and see the goings on of, this whole movement in our country, and then chaos kind of broke out.
You're a journalist, or what? You saw in the heat in an hour, and you went through security and at this campaign. You're a pretty interested photographer. Tell me a little bit about why you were there and what you saw.
I'm an amateur journalist. I mostly cover music and that kind of stuff, so this was more of a personal kind of adventure today. I was there and bared through the heat and went through the security with, there was several thousands of people there, and it was very hot. And I made my way to basically the center of the crowd. I was a little bit off to the right of the podium, about 50 yards away, standing there with, shoulder to shoulder with many, many other people. And then I heard one pop, and then a second pop, 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 and then there was like four or five that followed that. And it sounded like it came off from my right, which would have been Trump's left, where the video that you were showing, there was two people that were injured. I kind of think that these two people were in the line of fire, and that was the shots ricocheting on the aluminum grandstand kind of seating there.
We heard some of our eyewitness reporters were saying that they could see blood on those metal boards in the stadium area and the infrastructure. What are we talking about there, and who is that from?
I didn't personally see blood on the things, but I did see them, like paramedics and whether it was Secret Service or military or whatever, they carried two guys out of there. And actually, it's one of the videos you've been playing was a video that I had shot, but they were carrying him down the steps. And the one guy was able to exit on his own with some help from the other people. But another guy was being carried out, and he really didn't have any expression or anything. And they took them off to the side and laid them on the ground there, and were attending to them at that point. And actually, I'm seeing the video on your station right now.
That's your video that you shot?
Yeah, right there.
You filmed? Okay.
Correct.
And can you tell us, if you saw the image that we have up right now of the person injured, did you, with the American flag cowboy boots, were you able to see anything there? What happened and the extent of those injuries?
No, that gentleman there with the flag around him, they took him and laid him in the grass there, and they eventually loaded him into an ambulance. I don't know what type of condition he was in at that point. I don't have any further information as far as that.
Okay, Josh, thank you. Adriana or Bob, did you
as the family directly communicates with former President Trump. But those who have spoken to Donald Trump Jr. and other family members say former President Trump is reiterating to his closest advisors and family members that he is fine. But so many people on both sides of the aisle shook by this outbreak